my crafty friends, it's Tina from the Scrappin Rabbit blog, and I have a project share for you today. It is my day to post over at the Stamp Anything blog, and I went ahead and I made a process video of my project as well. This is the stamp that I chose to use, and she is just as cute as can be. This is Julie Presents and Cupcakes, and I thought, what a great stamp for many occasions. And because it is December and I've been really wanting to work on some Christmas projects, I decided to use her on a Christmas card. So let me go ahead and share with you what I made. Here's my card, and I think she turned out really cute. And there she is next to the Christmas tree. I went ahead and videotaped as I was putting this together, and so I'm going to go ahead and share that process video with you now. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and stamp her. She is brand new out of the package, and so I am going to season her a little bit just by patting it with my hands. And that way it doesn't stick too much to the paper and pull the paper up when I pull back on it. I'm going to use VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I really like the way that I love the blackness of this ink. And I am going to emboss it with some clear embossing powder to seal in that ink, because I'm going to color her with Copics, and you can't really color using that ink unless it is embossed. So after putting a lot of embossing powder on there, I'm going to go ahead and grab my heat tool and melt that up. And you want to make sure that there's no spots left uncovered, because it will smudge with your Copics. Now I'm just going to go ahead and stamp her onto this little post-it note for a little bit of a mask. I'm not going to do any true masking today, but I just want to protect the image while I go ahead and stamp the Christmas tree. So I'm just going to set that on there, and I'm going to go ahead and grab a pine branch from a stamp set that I have from Jaded Blossom. And I'm going to use some green colored ink, and I've never done this before, so I'm just kind of playing with it, and I'm going to take each branch and go along and up and down the card using this green, and I'm kind of double stamping to get a deeper color, and using a shorter area as I go up to make that triangular pattern of a Christmas tree. As I make my way up, it's really starting to look like a tree. It's coming together nicely. And now I'm going to go in with a second layer using a lighter shade of green, and that's going to thicken it up. And one last go at it, heading up the tree again with a darker color just to define it a little bit more. Now it's time for some Copic coloring, and I'm going to go ahead and do the skin. And I usually like to wet down the front of the face with the lightest color before I get started. I'm going to use the darkest color, E11, for the shadows and the contours of the face to give it some definition. I'm going to go in with the R30 for some cheeks, and then I'll blend that out using the E00. And then come in with that color towards the center, around the front of the eyes there, towards that area where I want to highlight. And then I'll blend it out with the E000. Blend it all towards the center so that the highlight is at the center of the face. And then my lightest color again is the E0000, and I'll go ahead and I'll put the color in towards the center. I like to do a second layer because I feel like when you build up the color, it really makes a huge difference. So I'll go in again with my darkest color, and I'll blend it out with the E00, again moving all the color towards the center of the face and blending it out, leaving that highlight area just in the center. And then I'll come in with my lightest color again, and then go across the front of her face. Now I'm going to use the E11 and the lighter colors to do her arms and her hand and her neck, and I'll just go from dark to light, getting those layers. For her hair, I like to use the E50 to mark the highlights. You don't really see that, but that just kind of gives me a guideline when I go in with my lightest color, which will be the E55. And now I'm just flicking each strand of hair towards the center of that highlight. I'll start out with the lightest color, work my way towards the tip of the hair, go in with the medium, and just strand by strand, I just flick towards the center there of that highlight. Once I have that medium color, I do want to blend that out with my E55, again moving towards the center to really leave that highlight area nice and shiny. I like to leave a little bit of white, but not too much white. Now I'm going to go in with my darkest color, which is the E59. And that'll be from the very tips, and then I'll blend that out with the E57, always flicking in the same direction, moving towards the center of the highlight, and then blending it out again with the E55. I do take my time when I do the hair, and I like to build up the layers and try to get that nice shine look. I do have a lot of fun coloring hair, but it does take some time. And I do recommend that you just take your time and have fun with it. Now that I have that E57 in, I'm going to go ahead and blend it out again with the E55, filling in some of that white area towards the center. And once I feel like I have a good amount of color down, I'll go ahead and get started in the next section of the hair. Just as before, I'm going to start out with my lightest color, flicking towards the center, leaving that area where I had marked the highlight, making all of my strokes go towards the center there, coming in with that medium, moving down towards the highlight area, and then now I have the darkest color that I'm going to start from the very edges, and then I'll go ahead and blend that out with the medium, the E57. And then again, with my lightest color, the E55, I'll go ahead and flick towards the center. And I do flip my paper over and around so that I can have most of my strokes going in the same direction. I tend to like to flick from the bottom up more so than from the top down. I feel like I have better control that way. Towards the bottom part of her hair, behind her, I'll make those areas darker because there's not going to be a lot of light hitting that area. And that's basically what I do, is I will go from dark and then blend out towards the center with the lighter colors until I feel like I have a nice natural looking amount of color on the hair so that it flows nicely. And there I am with the medium color, going again towards the center of the highlight, and of course I'll blend that back out, but I'm going in there now with the darkest for the hair behind her, getting that nice and dark for the shadows. Flicking, I think you really get that. You get that hairline look versus just coloring it in. And with the bigger areas, I do like to spend the time and make the hair look as pretty as possible. When you have a smaller image, it's not realistic to do it like this, and you pretty much just color it in and blend your colors out. But when you have big spaces like this, it's always nice to get those strands in there to really make it look realistic. And then I'll just go through and blend out with my lightest color and fill in any white spots with my darkest color. And once I'm happy with the hair, then I'll go ahead and I'll move on. For the tongue, I like to use the R05 and the R12, and that kind of gives it a pinkish red tinge to her tongue. I decided I'm going to go ahead and color her hair bow with the reds. This is a Christmas card, so I want to have a lot of red on there. I have the green on the tree, so now I think I'll do the ribbon and the hair tie red. I'm going in with several different red colors. And then my darkest color being the R59, and that is what I'll use as my shadow. I'm just kind of messing around. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do the shading on this bow, so I have the dark in the smaller, the narrower section moving out towards a lighter color. And I just kind of brought all my reds out and I'm coloring them all in. I'm using them all, R14 being my lightest one. And using as a shadow, I have the R29 and then the R59 as my darkest. And I'm just playing around with it and having fun and enjoying it, imagining the light coming up towards the top down and figuring out where I will add my lightest color and where I will have my darker colors. And then for the bottom part of the bow, I've decided that is where I'll have the darker, and then the top being the lightest. That R59 works as a great shadow color for the red, and so that is where I am putting that deep color in. Once I have the bow done, then I'm going to go ahead and color in the polka dots with 2 shades of red. So I'm picking a medium red, and then I'll go in with the lighter, the R14. And just, it's such a small little area, so basically they're little dots, and so I'm just dotting those in for a red polka dotted paper. I use my 0 to clean up any little mistakes that I make. I'm going to add a little shadows using my C1 just under on the dark side of the ribbon, and then I'll blend that out with my C0. Once I do that, I decided that I'm going to need some sparkle, and so I'm going to get my Spectrum Noir sparkle marker and color up that package and give it some shimmer. And I think that adds the perfect touch. You have to be careful to not go over the colored areas because this marker will blend your Copics out and it'll make it really smudgy. So I didn't touch any of the red as I was going through. For her dress, I decided that I'm going to keep it red. And so I'm starting with my darkest to my medium, and then I'll leave the center spaces the lighter color to give it a little shading. And I'll go ahead and I'll leave that collar white. So I'll add a little bit of the grays in the collared area to give a little bit of a shadow once I have my dress blended out. And then so just blend it towards the outside. And then I do blend the gray out with my 0 marker too, so that I don't leave any edges. Now it's time to just scribble on a little bit of a trunk because you don't see that much of it. And then for the tree skirt, I'm using a Nouveau glitter marker, and I chose gold. So this tree is going to have a nice sparkly gold tree skirt. I'm going to use my warm grays to add the floor that she's standing on, and the warm grays work really well, and I just blend that out till it looks like a floor, and then I'm good to go. I have this Christmas light banner that is a die from Jaded Blossom, and I have it all put together, and now I'm just going to size it to put it across the tree, and I'm snipping it in little pieces so that it looks like it's Christmas bulbs wrapped up to the top of the tree. I will glue them on using a Zig 2-way marker, and tweezers really help with that. And so that's all I'm going to do there. It's going to add a little bit of sparkle to my card and decorate that tree up for me. Now I want to add a sentiment, and so I'm going to go ahead and use my stamping tool so that I get it on there just right, just in case there's any mishaps, because now that my card's pretty much done, I don't want to ruin it by misstamping my sentiment. So I'm going to use the VersaFine black ink again. stamp and emboss my sentiment, and luckily it's stamped perfect just that one time. I'm going to go ahead and add the clear embossing powder. Get a nice good layer on that, and then I'm going to heat it up with my heating tool and melt all that embossing powder so that I have a nice embossed sentiment. Now that I have my sentiment stamped, I have all my layers cut out of my card, it's time to just put it together. So I'm using my ATG gun to go ahead and glue the layers together. I decided to go with a red matte, and I'm going to go ahead and attach that to the front of my A2 sized card. For the inside panel, I'm going to leave it blank for now until I figure out what sentiment I'd like to use for the inside. And here's a look at the finished card. Thanks so much for stopping by, everybody. I hope you liked my video, and I hope you liked the card. Have a great day and happy crafting, everyone. Bye for now.